In order for stocks to move higher, they need to have the fuel necessary for a rally. They're like rockets. And that fuel, it's cash. Sometimes the fuel comes from you, from retail investors who are taking their money off the sidelines and putting it back to work in the stock market. When money is flowing into stocks, with the mutual funds buying in endless waves and the hedge funds desperate to own stocks rather than shorting them, then you're in, yes indeed, the land of 1,000 bull dances. And you don't have to worry about where the fuel for the next rally is going to come from. As long as more and more dough is flowing into this market, it's easier to find groups of stocks that can go higher. And when that money's flowing into stocks at the same time as the businesses are turning around, well, you got to buy every single dip, every time. Boy, people hate the dip buyers. Let me tell you something. They've done pretty darn well in the last 25 years. But it can take a long time for regular people to become accustomed to putting their money in stocks after a serious sell-off because they get scared. That's where I come in. With no money flowing into the market, or even with outflows, you can still have powerful moves in the stocks and sectors that are trying to assert their leadership. Remember, fuel's one term. I'm interjecting the term leadership now. But the fuel to make those moves happen can't just come out of thin air. It's money, and it has to come from somewhere. So if people are still reluctant to invest, then the money will have to be pulled out of the least exciting, least interesting groups or sectors of stocks as investors swap out of them and swap into sexier names with more lift. People who own food and drug stocks will happily sell them in order to raise cash. There's just one problem. Without new money flowing in, the advance becomes what I call zero sum. And ultimately, you do run out of fuel. I mean, it doesn't matter how many 55-gallon drums you got. As soon as the selling in the defensive staples comes to an end, the leaders also run out of steam. There's just nothing left to drive them higher. And when investors on the sidelines are still reluctant to commit capital, something even worse can happen. You can get a rally in what I call the wrong stocks. See, the food and drug names that I just mentioned, they were used as fuel. And as fuel, they can become the market's new leaders. For other stocks can become the leaders, but that cash has to come out of someone. When those stocks rally, they're wrong. And, you know, because the big money thinks another downturn must be ahead, that's when they put the money in food and drugs. Or those stocks will be going lower. No matter that it just might be because these non-durables, food and drugs, are getting so cheap they represent great value. It's a bad signal for the market. You never really want to see any of the consumer staples roaring higher because it says something. It means people, the big buyers, think the economy is going to either get worse or simply stay in awful shape for a long time to come. That's why I call them the wrong stocks. That's why one of the most horrifying things you can see in the stock market is a powerful rally in the wrongs. The Cokes, the Pepsis, the Kellogg's, the Heinz's, the ConAgras, those food, those drugs. Here's the bottom line. There's nothing more disconcerting than watching a beverage stock happily plow its way higher without understanding the damage that it's doing. Until there are vast sums of money coming in from those sidelines, you need to become more cautious. You need to be less aggressive whenever you see the defensive food and drug names do well. There's sure to be a sell-off right around the corner.